into the mattress, not violently, but gently, as though sleep is finally being persuaded to cooperate. But even as you drift, you sense that chemical solutions are only one part of the Victorian obsession with sleep. Not everyone trusts powders and drafts. Some prefer physical therapies, water, temperature, and the strange belief that the body can be reset like a malfunctioning clock. Soon, you will find yourself stepping into a bath, not for cleanliness, but for medicine. And in Victorian medicine, nothing says healing quite like being soaked, chilled, steamed, or splashed with scientific confidence. The bath is already drawn when you enter the room, steam curling toward the ceiling like a polite ghost. Victorian plumbing is improving by the late 19th century, especially in middle-class homes, though it is hardly the effortless, temperature-controlled luxury you might be used to. Water must be heated, hauled, poured. Baths are events. And tonight, your bath is not about cleanliness. It is about re-educating your nerves. Hydrotherapy, water therapy, has become fashionable across Europe in the 19th century. Inspired in part by continental spa culture and practitioners like Vincent Priesnitz in Austria, water cures promise to reset the body through temperature and immersion. This is a mainstream historical fact. Hydrotherapy institutions flourish in the mid-1800s, offering structured regimens of baths, wraps, and douches to treat everything from gout to insomnia. You dip your toes into the tub. The water is warm, not scalding. A physician has advised you that a warm bath before bed can draw blood toward the skin and away from the brain, easing that dreaded cerebral congestion. The theory is simple. Soothe the body, calm the mind. You lower yourself in slowly, the porcelain cool against your back. The warmth spreads through your limbs, loosening muscles you did not realize were clenched. The house creaks faintly. Somewhere a pipe knocks like it has opinions. Victorian doctors often recommend a warm bath lasting 15 to 20 minutes for insomnia. Not too hot, not too long. Moderation again. You soak, and for a moment, the world narrows to steam and silence. But warm baths are only half the story. Some practitioners advocate cold water therapy instead. Yes, cold. Bracing, teeth chattering, regret-inducing cold. The logic is that a quick cold sponge bath stimulates circulation, shocks the nervous system into balance, and promotes healthier sleep later. It sounds suspiciously like punishing your body into cooperation. You imagine standing in a tiled room while an attendant briskly sponges your shoulders with cold water. You gasp. Your skin prickles. Your brain, previously tangled in anxious loops, snaps into alert clarity. It is difficult to worry about unpaid bills when your spine has just met a glacier. Historians still argue whether hydrotherapy's benefits came from the water itself or from the structured routine and restful environments of water cure establishments. Many hydrotherapy centers are located in rural settings, far from city smoke and noise. Patients follow regulated schedules. Early rising, walks, simple meals, baths, rest. It may be the entire lifestyle shift, not just the temperature, that improves sleep. A quirky tidbit emerges from the spa culture of the era. Some water cure establishments insist that patients drink copious amounts of mineral water daily, believing it flushes toxins and balances the system. You can spend half your day politely sipping water that tastes faintly like coins, all in the name of tranquility. You sink deeper into your bath, feeling your heartbeat slow. The steam dampens your hair. Your breathing becomes rhythmic, almost meditative. It is, in its own way, an early experiment in sleep hygiene, using environment and ritual rather than chemicals. Doctors sometimes recommend a hot foot bath, specifically for insomnia. The idea is that warming the feet draws blood downward, away from the head. You picture yourself sitting on the edge of the bed with your feet submerged in a basin, feeling faintly like a tea bag. There is also the wet sheet pack, a more dramatic hydrotherapy treatment. In this method, the patient is wrapped tightly in a damp, cool sheet and then covered with blankets. As the sheet warms against the skin, it is believed to calm agitation and induce sleep. It sounds less like a spa day and more like being gift-wrapped for relaxation. You lie back in the bath and let the warmth seep into your bones. The tension in your jaw eases. Even your thoughts seem to soften, as though steam has entered your skull and gently rearranged the furniture. 3 light jokes bubble up with the steam. That perhaps insomnia is just your body refusing to clock out, that cold baths are Victorian coffee, and that if cerebral congestion were real in modern terms, half the internet would require a bucket of ice nightly. You close your eyes. Water therapy has an appeal that chemicals lack. Feels natural, elemental. Water has been soothing humans long before laboratories and Latin prescriptions. There is comfort in returning to something ancient. But hydrotherapy is not universally praised. Some critics argue that extreme cold treatments are harsh and potentially harmful, especially for frail patients. Others point out that not everyone has access to elaborate baths or rural spas. For working-class families in cramped urban housing, a full warm bath may be a rare luxury, not a nightly remedy. Class, as always, shapes health options. You are fortunate enough to have a tub. Others must rely on whatever basin and kettle they can manage. You step out of the bath at last, wrapping yourself in a thick towel. Your skin glows faintly pink from the warmth. You feel lighter, not dramatically transformed, but gently untangled. Back in your bedroom, the sheets feel welcoming. Your body carries the residual heat like a quiet ember. You slide beneath the blankets and notice that your breathing is slower than usual. Perhaps the water has persuaded your nerves to stand down. As you settle into the pillow, you realize that Victorian insomnia cures are not all powders and potions. Some are rituals. Some are temperature and timing. Some are simply structured ways of telling your body very firmly that it is time to rest. And yet, even as you drift towards sleep with the memory of steam lingering on your skin, another wave of innovation waits just beyond the gaslit horizon. Because if water cannot calm you, and chemicals feel too risky, Victorian inventors are more than happy to strap something electric to your waist. Sleep, in this century, is nothing if not entrepreneurial. The next cure arrives not in a bottle or a basin, but in a cardboard box lined with velvet, as though it contains jewelry. In a sense, it does. Victorian medical gadgets are the sparkling accessories of the nervous age. Expensive, fashionable, and just scientific enough to make you feel modern. You sit in a parlor while someone proudly opens the box and reveals an electric belt. It is leather, fitted with metal plates, and it looks like something you might wear if you plan to duel a thunderstorm. The salesman, because yes, this is absolutely a salesman, smiles with the calm confidence of a man who has never spent a night staring at the ceiling. He assures you that electricity is the future. In the late 19th century, electricity becomes a cultural obsession. It powers telegraphs, lights, and eventually trams. Scientists like Michael Faraday have already advanced understanding of electromagnetism. The public is fascinated by invisible forces that can move machines and transmit messages. Naturally, they assume electricity can also fix the human body. This is a mainstream historical fact. Electrotherapy devices are widely marketed in the Victorian era, promising to treat nervous disorders, weakness, and insomnia by applying mild electrical currents to the body. Some are used by legitimate physicians, while others are sold as dubious patent devices. You, being tired and curious, are tempted. The belt is strapped around your waist. A small crank or battery pack is attached. You feel a faint tingling, like static after touching a wool blanket. It is not painful, but it is certainly noticeable. Your skin prickles. Your muscles twitch slightly, as though startled. The salesman claims the current invigorates the nerves, balances the system, and restores proper sleep. The language is grand and vague, which is often a clue that nobody knows exactly what is happening. Still, it sounds plausible. If nerves are like telegraph wires, perhaps they simply need better wiring. You imagine your nervous system being rewired like a London street lamp. It's a comforting thought, until you remember that street lamps occasionally explode. Electric belts are only one part of the gadget craze. There are electric brushes, electric corsets, electric chairs, not the execution kind, thankfully, and small handheld devices that deliver mild shocks to the temples or spine. Some practitioners use them to treat depression, anxiety, and insomnia, believing that electrical stimulation can correct nervous imbalance. A quirky tidbit from the era: some galvanic devices are marketed not only for health but for beauty, promising to improve complexion and hair growth. Victorian advertising suggests that electricity can make you sleep better and look better, which is essentially the 19th century version of a wellness influencer selling you a vibrating face roller. You lie in bed later, wearing the belt beneath your nightshirt. It feels awkward, like trying to fall asleep while wearing a small suit of armor. You shift, the metal plates pressing against your ribs. The device hums faintly, or maybe that's just your imagination. You cannot help thinking, if this works, it will be the strangest bedtime accessory in history. Victorian medicine is full of this mixture of genuine scientific curiosity and wild commercial enthusiasm. Some doctors cautiously experiment with electrical stimulation for certain conditions. Others dismiss the gadgets as nonsense. The public, meanwhile, is delighted. Electricity is mysterious enough to feel magical, and anything magical seems worth trying when you are exhausted. Historians still argue whether electrotherapy devices had any measurable therapeutic effect or whether most benefits were placebo combined with the calming belief that one is doing something modern and scientific. It is entirely possible that simply believing you are being treated, especially with a futuristic force like electricity, reduces anxiety and helps sleep. You do feel something, though, a mild buzzing sensation, a distraction. Your thoughts, usually spiraling, are now focused on whether your belt is about to electrocute you. Oddly enough, this is relaxing. Worry has been replaced by a single clear concern. Will you survive the night wearing this contraption? And yes, you probably will. Most electric belts deliver very low currents. They are designed to tingle, not harm. Still, there are risks. Poorly made devices can cause burns or irritation. And there is always the danger of people overusing them, turning up intensity in the desperate hope that more electricity equals more sleep. Humans have never been subtle with their own bodies. The gadget culture extends beyond electricity. You also encounter mechanical devices marketed for insomnia. Vibrating chairs, special pillows, and even respirators designed to improve breathing at night. Some Victorians believe that poor ventilation and shallow breathing contribute to restless sleep. They are not entirely wrong. Sleep quality is influenced by air quality and respiratory health, though Victorian science frames it differently. The overall atmosphere is one of experimentation. The 19th century is an era of invention, and insomnia becomes another problem to solve with hardware. If a machine can spin cotton faster, why can't it spin your mind into calmness? 3 light jokes flicker through your thoughts as you adjust the belt. That you are essentially charging your body overnight like a human battery. That perhaps your dreams will now be delivered via telegraph. And that if lightning strikes the house, you'll wake up as the world's most well-rested corpse. You laugh softly, then immediately regret it, because laughter is movement, and movement is the enemy of sleep. You switch off the device just in case. Even Victorians know when to stop tempting fate. But the fascination remains. The gadgets, the belts, the brushes. These are symptoms of a society that believes progress can fix anything, including the stubborn biology of wakefulness. As you finally settle into bed without your electric armor, you notice something important. While gadgets may be entertaining, they do not address the deeper Victorian obsession with order. The true cure, many believe, is not electricity but discipline. Fresh air, proper bedding, correct posture, and a bedroom arranged like a moral lesson. The next advice you receive will sound less like medicine and more like interior design. And you will soon learn that in Victorian Britain, even your pillow can be judged for its character. By the time you reach this stage of your sleepless journey, you have swallowed powders, soaked in baths, and briefly considered sleeping while wearing an electric belt like a confused gladiator. Now, the advice turns quieter, more domestic, and somehow more personal, because Victorian society has decided that your bedroom is not just a place to rest. It is a moral environment. You stand in your sleeping chamber in the pale late afternoon light, looking at it the way a Victorian health reformer would, as a space full of potential sins. Dust, stale air, heavy curtains, feather pillows, overheated fires. Each one, you are told, could be sabotaging your sleep. The Victorians, especially the middle and upper classes, become increasingly obsessed with ventilation. Fresh air is treated almost like a sacred substance. This is a mainstream historical fact. In the 19th century, Public health movements emphasize ventilation and cleanliness to combat disease, influenced by ideas like miasma theory, the belief that bad air causes illness. Even as germ theory begins to emerge later in the century, the obsession with air remains strong. So you are instructed to open your windows at night. This sounds reasonable until you remember you live in London, where the air is essentially a soup of coal smoke, fog, and ambition. Still, reformers insist that stagnant indoor air is worse. They warn against close rooms, claiming they weaken the lungs and disturb sleep. You open the window anyway, and immediately regret it. A damp chill creeps in, along with the faint smell of horse manure and industrial soot. But perhaps you tell yourself this is the price of health. The bedding becomes the next battlefield. Feather mattresses and pillows, once considered luxurious, begin to fall out of favor among some health advocates. They are accused of trapping heat, harboring dust, and encouraging laziness. Horsehair mattresses are praised instead because they are firmer, more ventilated, and slightly uncomfortable, which, in Victorian logic, must be good for you. If it feels too pleasant, it is suspicious. You press your hand into the mattress and feel the stiff resistance. Yes, it is basically a woven field of prickly optimism. But it is healthy. Some advice manuals insist that too many blankets can cause overheating, leading to restless sleep. Others insist that cold is dangerous and the body must be kept warm. This contradiction is classic Victorian medicine. Everyone agrees something must be done, but nobody agrees what. Historians still argue whether Victorian sleep advice was shaped more by medical evidence or by cultural ideals of discipline and self-control. A firm mattress and cool air may genuinely improve sleep for some, but they also align beautifully with the Victorian belief that comfort should be earned, not indulged. Then there is posture. You are told not to sleep on your back, because it can cause nightmares or breathing issues. You are told not to sleep on your stomach because it compresses the organs. You are told to sleep on your right side to aid digestion, or perhaps your left side, depending on which pamphlet you read. Eventually, you realize the only universally accepted sleeping position is quietly and without complaint. Your pillow is also scrutinized. Some recommend pillows stuffed with hops or lavender for calming scents. Others suggest that feather pillows are too soft and allow the head to sink, disrupting circulation. Circulation, in Victorian medicine, is blamed for nearly everything. Too much blood in the head? Insomnia. Too little blood in the head? Also insomnia. You begin to suspect blood is simply an unreliable employee. A quirky tidbit. Certain Victorian health writers warn against sleeping with your arms above your head, claiming it can cause numbness and nervous disturbance. They make sleep sound like a high-stakes gymnastics routine. Your bedroom decor comes under fire as well. Heavy drapes are criticized for trapping stale air. Thick carpets are accused of harboring dust and germs. Victorian reformers encourage simpler furnishings, easier to clean. The bedroom should be spare, orderly, and calm. You look around and feel personally attacked by your own curtains. Lighting is another factor. Some recommend dimming lamps early to encourage natural sleepiness. Gaslight, while convenient, is suspected of irritating the eyes and stimulating the mind. There are even concerns about gas fumes affecting health. In some homes, gas leaks are real dangers. You begin to understand why the Victorians sometimes look so tired in photographs. They are literally breathing exhaustion. Noise is discussed too. City dwellers complain of street sounds. Carts, horses, shouting vendors. Some try earplugs made of cotton. Others simply accept that urban life is loud and that sleep must be fought for like a seat on a crowded train. You also hear advice about mental hygiene. No stimulating conversation before bed. No suspenseful novels. No intense chess matches. No thinking about death. Unfortunately, the Victorians think about death constantly, so this advice is somewhat impractical. You attempt to follow the recommended routine. You air out the room, shake the bedding, keep the fireplace low, and remove unnecessary clutter. You feel like you are preparing for a very picky guest. And perhaps you are. Sleep is the fussiest guest of all. You climb into bed and notice that the room feels different. Cooler, cleaner. The air has movement. The sheets feel crisp. Your mind, Seeing the order around you relaxes slightly. Modern sleep science would call this sleep hygiene, creating conditions that support healthy rest. The Victorians don't use that phrase, but the concept is there. They believe the environment shapes the body. They believe air and temperature and routine can tame the nervous system. Historians still argue whether these reforms were truly about sleep or part of a broader Victorian campaign to control bodies and behavior. Cleanliness becomes linked with morality. Order becomes linked with virtue. A well-ventilated bedroom is not just healthy, it is respectable. 3 light jokes drift in as you settle under the blankets. That your bed is now a health experiment. That your curtains are probably plotting revenge. And that if sleep doesn't come soon, you'll start charging rent for the hours you spend awake. You smile softly. But then, just as you begin to feel drowsy, your stomach makes a quiet complaint. A small rumble. A reminder that you ate a rich supper. The Victorians have strong opinions about food and sleep, and you are about to discover that digestion is treated like a second brain, one that holds grudges. Because the next set of insomnia cures will arrive not from a chemist's jar, but from your dinner plate. Your bedroom may be perfectly ventilated now. Your sheets may be crisp, your pillow appropriately firm, your curtains no longer committing the sin of trapping stale air. And yet your stomach, that stubborn little furnace, has decided to hold a meeting at midnight. A gentle gurgle rises from your abdomen, followed by a slow, heavy discomfort. It is not pain exactly. It is the sensation of a meal refusing to retire quietly. Your body is digesting with all the enthusiasm of a factory running overtime. In Victorian medicine, digestion is everything. This is a mainstream historical fact. Throughout the 19th century, dyspepsia, indigestion, is widely diagnosed and treated, especially among the middle classes. Doctors connect